Hey everybody, it's Gabby from Julie's Canine Academy, joined as always by my boy, Mr. Taco. If you're watching this, congratulations. It means you have a dog going through our board and train program who will be coming home to you real soon.
Hello there, my name is Julie. I am going to be explaining to you our main tool, which is the e-collar, also known as the remote collar or the electronic collar. We use one brand, ECOLLAR Technologies, and about 90% of the dogs will go home on this model, which is the Mini Educator. Let's see what's in the box. So your collar is going to come in a box like this. When you open your box, looks like this, and the two main things are going to be the remote and the receiver. The receiver goes on your dog, the remote goes in your hand. If the remote is not in your hand and the receiver is not on your dog, it's kind of useless. When it's not on your dog, it will be on the charger. Comes with a charger like this, and then it just plugs in. There'll be little ports. Plug that in when your dog is sleeping overnight in the crate. When you take it off the charger, it's turned off. So how do we turn it on? We turn on the remote first, and you turn it to the back, and there's a button. It's a big button, and it has an L on it. You hold that down until the screen turns blue, and now your remote is on. But you'll notice quickly, no communication to the receiver. So every single time you turn your remote on, you need to sync it to your dog's receiver. Very easy to do that. On your remote, there's a red dot. On your receiver, there's a red dot. These are magnets. You tap the two together, and that turns on the receiver. To let you know that it's on, there'll be a yellow light that flashes here. So I'm going to tap the two together, and there's my yellow light. And now I can tell that they're on, and I always test it by tapping the flashlight. Your dog's e-collar has a flashlight. Instead of holding the on-off button, you're going to tap it. Tap it once, you get a strobe. Tap it again, you get a solid. Tap it again, you turn it off. Now you're ready to go. Your receiver is going to go on your dog. Put that on anywhere on the dog's neck except over the trachea. Let's talk about the remote, because this is the part that you operate. We've talked about the on-off button. We've talked about the flashlight. Let's look at the dial. Let's see, make sure you guys can see this. On your remote, there is a flashing 1D at the top. That means that it's a one dog unit. There's also a C on the side. That stands for continuous. You always want to see that C there. There's of course a number, and it goes from 0 to 100. And you change the number with this scroll bar here. Okay? Now let's talk about the buttons. There is a T button on one side of the remote. The T stands for tone. You press that button, and it's going to send a beep on your dog's collar right next to their ear. How cool is that? And it works up to 1/4 mile away. We have our dogs trained in this program so that they understand that this means come to you. It means always going to mean a recall or move with me. There's a lot of different ways you can use this tone feature here. The most common is going to be getting your dog to you, whether they're across the room, they're across the house, they're across a hiking field, or maybe they're just in their backyard and you need to get them to come inside. Beep, 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 and your dog should come running to you. You can also use it while you're walking in heel. Your dog starts to lag behind you, or maybe they're starting to slip out to the left. Beep, 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 and they should close the gap and get back to your leg. You can also use this beep to initiate movement. So let's say you're trying to get your dog on a new place bed or a new surface, or go into a kennel or jump into a car, and they're kind of uncertain about it. We're finding that we're tapping the tone, beep, 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 and it's initiating movement, and the dog jumps right in or gets right on. So there's a lot of different ways you can use this beep, but the most important thing to remember is that it's always for movement. This is not supposed to be corrections for non-compliance, for commands. That is what your S buttons are for. There's 2 S buttons on the other side. One is black and one is red. The black button is your main button. That is going to get you the number on the screen. So let's say we have it at a 10. If I hit my black button here, that's going to give a level 10 to the collar. You can always tell when the stim is on because they'll flash red here and here. If you're ever wondering, hey, is my dog's collar on? Take it down to a 1 and just tap it and you should see red here, and that means yes, your collar is on, okay? You have up until 10 seconds to hold this button down. So watch. I'm holding it and the red lights are on, and that means my stim is on, and then it maxes out at 10 seconds and turns off. That's a safety feature in case somehow you were to sit on your remote and you didn't know. It won't stim the dog for longer than 10 seconds. Another really cool way to use that 10-second feature is once you get really good at the remote, you can hold the stim while dialing up. And you have 10 seconds. So that comes in really handy. Let's say your dog gets something in their mouth that you don't want them to, and you're on the hiking trail, or you're just on a walk, or maybe it's just even in your house. You can start at a lower number, let's say 10, not say a single word. Press, hold, dial, dial up, dial up, dial up, dial up to whatever number your dog thinks is important enough for them to drop that item, and then you release. That's just one way you can use that, and it finds that perfect, we call it the Goldilocks number, where you don't have to trial and error and accidentally go too high. You find that perfect number. So that is a really nice way to use the 10 seconds that you have. But for the most part, that black S is going to be used at mild numbers, communication to your dog, and because of the training program they just went through, they understand what it means. For example, if I had my dog next to me right now and I would say, Riggins, and he looks at me and says, yes, Julie, I would say, down, and he either does or he doesn't. If he does, I would go, good boy. If he says, no, I don't want to down, click, and he should down, and then I would say, good. That is how we use the remote to talk to our dogs and hold them accountable for something we've asked them to do. Any command you ask your dog to do, this is the way that you're going to ensure that they do it. And it's hands-free, it's leash-free, and it's confrontation-free. So you can get your dog to you, you can get them to lie down, you can get them to stay, you can get them to walk nicely, and it's all with this remote right here because it's your accountability tool for your dog. Numbers. Don't pay too much attention to the number. We get a lot of clients that are stuck on numbers. They won't go past a 10 or a 15. But really, if you think about it, your dog doesn't understand what a number is. They're only going based on what they feel. So there's so many variables into what number you should use on your dog in any given time. And it maybe has something to do with how tight the collar was put on. Maybe it's over a tuft of hair this time. Maybe it's a little bit looser than what it was yesterday. Maybe your dog's really amped up and excited. Your numbers are gonna have to be higher. If they're in a new place, the numbers are gonna have to be higher. But really, it's whatever your dog is responding to in that moment. Okay, so don't get stuck looking at the remote. You know, each time you have to ask your dog to do something, you want to do a healthy scroll up. You don't want to go, oh, I'm at a 10, let me go to an 11. That's not going to work. You want to at least be going up a healthy 5 to 7 numbers each time. So that's just communicative. So I ask my dog to down, he doesn't. I click a button, he downs. My dog is in a downstay at a restaurant patio and he breaks when the server came by. I would say no, I would click, and I would put him back in the down. I'd be using whatever numbers are working for that dog in that moment. 90% of the time you're going to be using low numbers, what we call mild. Once we get into the higher numbers, 50 plus, this is for barking, this is for jumping, kitty litter eating, trash can eating, digging, poop eating, chasing the cat, running into the street, dangerous things that we need to stop immediately and forever, okay? Those are gonna be your high numbers, okay? So anything 50, 75 plus on your collar, or maybe just even an attention getter. Let's say somebody rings the doorbell and your dog goes crazy and you're trying to put them on place, but they're going crazy barking. What we tell people is click high, correct, you get your dog's attention, and then go way back down in your numbers then tell them to go to place. So it's an attention getter, and then you would go way back down. So that's how we use our remote as a communicative tool for our dogs. We ask them to do something, we correct mildly if they don't, and it goes up from there. Now, theoretically, if you stay really consistent with this, it'll be phased out because your dog, they won't try to gamble with not listening to you anymore because they know you always hold them accountable, just like they were at board and train, okay? But if you only hold them accountable sometimes, yeah, they'll probably gamble with you the rest of their life. So that is your black S. That gets you the number on the screen, and you have up to 10 seconds to hold pressure down. Now, let's talk about the red button. That is a boost button that we will set for you based on your dog. It'll be set from 5 to 60. And what that means is, let's say you are on a walk with your dog, you have it set for a 10, which is very mild, and all of a sudden your dog gets a wild hair and lunges after a squirrel, and you don't have time to mess with the numbers. You can quickly hit the red button and it'll boost it up based on what it's set at. So if your boost is set to a 50 and you have it on a 10, it'll quickly get you up to a 60. And again, you have 10 seconds to hold that down. So that is your quick boost, all right? Now, if you'll notice, the remote is pretty comfortable to hold in your palm. I usually have my thumb on the tone button, my index finger on the black button, and my middle finger on the boost button. It also comes with a necklace, so you can wear it. So there's never the excuse of you laid it down and you didn't know where you put it. So now you have a necklace, just like that. We just went over all of the buttons on this remote and collar. Don't overcomplicate it, please. I know it can be sounding daunting or overwhelming, but really, if you just think about it, boiled down to its simplest form, it's there for you to get your dog to do something that you've asked them to do and they don't want to do it. That is your accountability button. And it's fair because we've trained them on it and we've given them all of the knowledge. You also have some tools if you ever need to change out your contact points. It comes with the short ones. We usually swap them out for the long ones. There's tools to do that. You can take the skins off your remote. There's a tool to do that. If you ever need to call the company, every remote has a 2-year warranty, and there's a number that you can call on the back of the remote. And if you're having any issues with it, they replace it for you. Your box here, if you lift up the tray, there's an instruction manual, basically going over everything I just showed you. Okay, so become familiar with this, play with it when it's not on your dog, and I'm sure you're going to get really good at it. Just like you probably felt overwhelmed the first time you got in a car and had to learn how to drive it, that's how you're probably feeling with this, but I promise you it gets easier and easier as you keep using it. Again, this is our main tool, and if this tool is not on your dog, the program is not on. So if this tool's not on, don't try to ask your dog to do something, because what if they decide not to? You have no way to back yourself up, and it puts you in a very weak position. All right, I'm gonna change it over to Gabby, and she's gonna explain to you how our secondary tool works, which is the slip leash, which is gonna be there for when you need a leash on your dog in your neighborhood, in downtown areas, in stores. So she's gonna explain how that works.
The slip lead is, like it sounds, a slip leash. On one end, we have a handle. On the other end, we have the collar part. The slip lead is a leash and a collar all in one. On the collar end, you can see how it moves up and down freely, but the stopper keeps it in place from going too wide. That's to keep your dog from slipping out or backing out of their collar. To move that, we slide it down, we slide it up, you can move it all around, it slides very easily. Nothing to unclip, very user-friendly. To put it on your dog, since all our dogs walk on our left side and heel, we want to feed the collar out and the leash out towards our left side. So when I put it on my dog's neck, I slide the tab up, put it over his head, and then I slide the tab back down so the collar's not just loose and dangling, because then my dog could back out of it. To take it off, I just slide the tab down, slip it over his head, and he's good to go. Good boy, give me paw. Nice job. Now's a good time to tell you guys the secret word because we're gonna ask you for a secret password at your go home session. So listen closely. Snickerdoodle. The word is snickerdoodle. If you have any other questions, feel free to write them down and then bring them up at your go home session. Very good boy. Out.